Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for frame rate is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Frame Rate is brought to you by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies streamed to your PC, Mac, or TV instantly. Plus, get DVDs by mail in about a business day. For your free 30-day trial, go to netflix.com/twit. And by Hover.com. Hover is domain name registration and management that's simple. For Hover's transfer concierge service, free for our audience, go to hover.com/frame. It's Frame Rate. And sheep. Welcome to Frame Rate. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Brian Brushwood.
And I love that on the lineup for our cold open viral video, the only note that Brian put was sheep.
That's all you needed. I was accurate.
You were absolutely 100% accurate. I don't know how to handle these things on our audio podcast because you don't get to see the sheep. You just hear goofy music. But
I'm going to say that the audio listeners are better off. They got a brief, nice 30-second interlude. Everybody who's watching video now has nightmares. Congratulations, America. That's no charge. Extra to you.
Joining us on Frame Rate today, I'm very happy to have Ken Labar from Roll It, Take It Media, director of Video Streams Everywhere.
Most notably, the Coachella. You might have seen me on
the
Coachella webcast, the most recent one.
You might have seen his directorial fingerprint on such streams as, the Coachella stream. You've done lots of streams for YouTube, for Xbox.
Yep.
There's one you were telling Brian about that's on the Xbox Live service right now.
The Live Rising show, T-Mobile Live Rising show with Robin that we shot in Columbus, Ohio a couple of weeks ago.
You got to eat these mics, by the way.
Okay, sorry, dude.
They're
I
very.
should know that after watching the show so many times.
That's all right. There we go. Now we can hear you fine.
That's excellent. When you watch enough podcasts and you're just like, oh, now I'm that guy, and I walk right into it. What is this?
I'm the red shirt. Okay, here we go. I'm dead. It's happening.
Well, you're the guy in the chat room who, because you said you're in the chat room a lot when we do the show, who's sitting there when we're talking about streaming video going, no, that's not how it works at all.
No, I never say that quite. I just go, the wide shot needs to be level. Can we level the wide shot, please? And then there's 20 other guys going, yeah, let's get the wide shot level.
Yeah. Jason, wide shot level. Tom, Ace Detect, wide shot
where's
level.
where's Eileen? Get Eileen in there. She'll fix it.
Any name I know.
Guy.
Yeah, I am.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I've shown up to take the abuse.
Thanks for making the long trek up to the cottage.
I had a few other things going on in the neighborhood. I got family out here, and we're having a couple of meetings about some upcoming streaming stuff. And, who could pass up a chance to come in here? Especially because you might be moving to the brick house.
Yeah, this is one of the last chances. We might be moving July 17th.
I was here.
Or thereabouts.
I was here before it all moved.
Yeah. Take a picture with your mind.
That's right.
Gosh, I cannot wait for all of us to become old timers talking about like, oh man, well, back at the cottage.
It was so much cooler at the cottage.
There were 75 people in only one room.
That's right.
We all liked it. And that's absolutely, none of those things are true.
Nope.
Let's start with the big story.
This just in, the big story.
So it turns out that Bloomberg is now the first major company to complain about the NBC Universal Comcast merger. Bloomberg has filed a formal complaint with the FCC accusing Comcast of violating the condition about neighborhooding. There is a requirement in the FCC's approval of the merger that says that if Comcast neighborhoods news or business news channels together on any of its lineups, that it can't leave one channel out. So, for instance, in Washington, D.C., CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and CNBC are on channels 35 through 39. Bloomberg TV is on channel 103. So they are exiled into Siberia. Bloomberg says that is a violation of that term.
Okay, so I guess the thing that surprised me is that, I mean, I got to assume that these merger agreements are so gigundo huge with so many lawyers poring over every possibility or whatever. I guess somewhere in the document they wrote, BT dubs, if we do neighborhooding, we won't unfairly kick out anyone who's not part of the NBC.
We won't abuse our position to benefit CNBC.
Right, okay, yes. And I can see that. But is this a case where, is this a legitimate complaint? I mean, number one, do they actually do the neighborhooding?
Well, they do it in Washington, D.C., but Comcast says, no, we don't do neighborhooding. Any appearance of neighborhooding, that's just an accident.
Okay, so like in Washington, D.C., when like there's 8, you got your CNNs, your Fox News, your Fox Businesses, your CNBCs, and then 8,000 channels down the way is little old Bloomberg sitting by herself. Just coincidence.
Yeah, that's what Comcast says.
I mean, what do they? Here's the problem: if you're going to say you don't neighborhood, then of course the obvious question is, well, how do you decide where to put it? In which case, their only answer can be, I don't know,
spin a wheel.
Or maybe they have a guy. They're like, oh, we got a guy. Who's your guy?
We got a guy.
It's Gary. He's a guy stoned on a couch.
He's in Philadelphia. We just say, what about Bloomberg? And he goes, 103.
Yeah, he's
make it happen.
either got Asperger's or there's a guy stoned on a couch, and I'd like to think they're a team. It's like a wacky odd couple comedy between the two of them trying to decide where the channels go.
Gary and Drew together again for the first time. This is really a kind of, big company versus big company thing. Bloomberg's been fighting tooth and nail to get ratings, try to compete with CNBC, and then along comes Fox Business Channel, and that makes it even harder for them. So they're going to do everything they can to scream and fuss about this. Comcast may not neighborhood in most places. This may be an accident that DC does this. I haven't found any other examples of this. But what it does mean is that if they can get the FCC on their side, then there's a whole lot of cascading effects to the rest of the things that Comcast does. And I don't know that it would have the potential to unravel the merger. What's done is done, but it could put a lot more restrictions on what Comcast can do.
I mean, I understand that this is a technical violation of the rules, or it could be proven that this is a technical violation of the rules. But I got to think that the SEC has bigger fish to fry than the channel placement in some market in Washington. It seems to me like this is a play by Bloomberg to where it's like they've maybe complained repeatedly in there, and maybe they've even said, it's like, look, man, you got to put us with the other news stations. And they said, well, locally, yeah, no, maybe we'll get around to it, or no, we don't want to, or whatever. And then finally they look and they're like, well, they're in violation of the letter and law of this, so they're going to make a big stink and get it fixed over. But I mean, as much noise as they're making about this, being a problem with the merger, I think they're just upset because they didn't get into the country club is what it is. I think Bloomberg's just like, come on, bro, let me in. And then when they wouldn't, they're like, well, fine, I'm gonna call the cops and tell them you guys are too loud anyway. I don't want to go to your party anyway. Your illegal party.
Her art she loves in the chat room says she would rather watch a monkey throw darts than any of these news channels. And I think the dart throwing monkey channel would probably want to be grouped with the news channels in that case.
You'd probably learn more from watching the monkey throw the darts.
Just put some news up on the dartboard. Just observationally.
Ugh.
All right. Well, this story, I think we've exhausted this story, so we need another big story. Do we have another big story?
My goodness, I need my fix.
Stop everything. It's another big story.
Fine. You're bored by talk of news channels and FCC disputes and allegations. How about the Real Housewives of New Jersey is better than Modern Family on Twitter?
You didn't. No, you didn't. You did not just say those words.
That's right. I did.
So this is now. Here's what's curious about this. I guess the whole story is that what is popular to talk about when it comes to television on Twitter is not necessarily what shows are actually popular. As a matter of fact, if you look at the chart that they have, this is a story on All Things D. They have a breakdown according to what is the most popular talked about television shows during sweeps week, and then the list of the program. In many times, for fully half of the programs, the most talked about social networking programs were ones that didn't even appear in the top Nielsen Top 100, which is amazing to me. And I guess it makes sense because for two reasons. First of all, it says rank via social guide. Do we know for sure that that's just Twitter, or does that include Facebook as well?
Well, a social guide wants to track TV commentary, and the chart below seems to have some Facebook commentary included. So it's best to look at it as a Twitter proxy, according to All Things D. But it's a guide to what shows are actually causing conversations. And the NBA basketball conference finals were #1, according to Social Guide, even though the Nielsen, that is something that got people talking. You would expect that. Sports is going to get people talking. American Idol gets people talking. Glee gets people talking. All of these were bigger than both Modern Family and The Real Housewives of New Jersey. It's just that when you start to get down outside of the first 3 or 4, it starts to become a little less predictable. And I think it's an interesting gauge of what shows people like to talk about versus what shows people like to watch. There's lots of shows on CBS that are highly ranked, highly rated, and highly watched, but nobody ever talks about them. They don't have a lot of awareness on Twitter and Facebook. What is the? I mean, Ken, does this kind of thing actually affect your viewing habits? Do you think that just because it's talked about that is going to help the show or keep the show afloat?
Well, I think with most consumers, yes. I mean, it's that water cooler moment where it's what's buzzing right now, and a lot of people want to check in, or they see it in a number of blogs, they see it in a number of websites, they follow that sort of thing. For me personally, no. But I have unusual viewing habits.
Do you talk about stuff on social networks, like TV shows that you watch?
Yeah, I used to a lot more, but I'm more into the signal to noise ratio, trying to increase the signal and lessen the noise.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I have something really good to say, I'll say it. But I'm more concerned usually about the production or something like that. Like, how did they pull that shot off? Mm-hmm. Like, I know people that work on, like, say, Real Housewives in New Jersey, and I get sort of the behind the scenes, and it takes away the mystery or the interest or whatever. And I also know sort of the assembly line process that they go through to create these shows. So it's not as interesting to me per se, but I understand completely why we see so many of these shows and why they are so popular.
So I got two questions. First of all, when it comes to tracking this, my guess is not everybody talking about sports events is bothering to use a hashtag. And in fact, there are times I'll see just an eruption of tweets from all different types of people, and they're all like, oh, bad call, or some name I don't recognize because I don't follow sports very closely. And I'll be like, and I'll deduce as like, oh, I bet some major sporting event is on today because I suddenly turn into an old man. How do you suppose they track this? Do you think they're just watching and they know? Like they look for keywords or player names?
Oh, yeah. I'd say the hashtag thing is almost isn't unnecessary at this point. You can do lots of great data mining on these things without having
by name,
without having to have a hashtag. Just look for keywords, look for phrases. Okay. I think that's probably what they're doing.
And second of all, I am really struck, not so much by the disparity between those, we'll call them legitimate popular shows that are in the Nielsen Top 100 versus the illegitimate ones. But if you look down, it says rank via Nielsen. Fully half of these, it just says N/A, which means they're not even in the top 100. I'm shocked at how many of these that I haven't even heard of, much less watched an episode. For example, the 7th most popular social network television show to talk about is Randy Jackson Presents America's Best Dance
Crew.
America's Best Dance Crew. It got cut off. Crew. I am familiar with that because my wife is a big fan.
And that's why I'm familiar with it too. Solidarity, brother.
That's right.
Okay, what about this one? Number 8, Love and Hip Hop. Anyone?
No, that's on VH1. I should be in its target market,
really,
but no, I don't know.
All right, number 12, Mob Wives. Have you ever seen?
Vague feeling that maybe I've heard about it before. Also on VH1.
Real Housewives of New Jersey, of course, we let off with Chloe and Lamar.
Never heard of it.
Heard of it, wouldn't watch it.
Gossip Girl, of course, I think we've all heard of. Tosh.0, South Park, we've heard of. The Real World, One Tree Hill. I don't think I've ever seen a single episode of One Tree Hill.
I keep looking at ads for that when I'm watching Smallville and thinking, that's still on? Wow.
Now, here's my favorite. The number 25.
They canceled Veronica Mars and One Tree Hill still on. Huh.
You're like, there is no God. You're so upset. Number 25 most popular talked about TV show extreme couponing.
That is awesome.
I recently saw an episode of this. Blew my mind. I'm like, first of all, who
called my
greenlit?
bluff. I've never heard of it.
It's like who greenlit this? You know, I've got an idea for a show. You know, extreme paper delivery, you know, or something, because they'll do anything at this point.
Well, that's TLC, and it's got to be a daytime show, because I think that would just target. I mean, coupons and deals. That's the kind of thing that targets a daytime audience, and I could see that working.
I bet it's prime time, Tom.
Obviously, it's not.
I bet it's prime time. I swear, if it's up there on the chart like the way it is, and it's popular. I bet it's prime time.
Yeah, you may be right.
I'll tell you,
apparently, people in the chat room are saying you're right. It's a primetime show.
All of these shows, whether it's HGTV or whatever, it's just awesome because you spend 7 minutes watching a knot get tied in front of your face, and then you watch them pick away at it, and then there's that awesome orgasm moment where you're like, and I got all these groceries for $5. And you're like, oh, you did it! You totally extremely couponed! I can't believe
That's so extreme.
And then you're like, how do I do it myself? And they cut to commercial.
Well, others that are in the top 40 social guide but not in the top 100 Nielsen are names like we recognize: Game of Thrones, Supernatural, Doctor Who. So, you know, I think part of what we're seeing here is the fact that the demographic for social networks does not overlap with the 18-plus Nielsen demographic. I'd like to see this chart done with a narrower demographic rather than just your overall, because you got a lot of people in Nielsen, probably overrepresentative in the 55-plus category, that are nowhere near available in the percentages and in the active percentages on Twitter, I think.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, it's also a cultural thing. I think this is a statement. Now, if it does involve Facebook, then I'll buy that it's a little more uniform. But this could be a case of, I know there was like a couple months ago on This Week in Tech, we covered the story of how big is Twitter really? And when it breaks down to, you know, people who follow more than 10 people and have more than 10 people following them, you drop from 150 million active accounts down to like less than 30 million people. And I'm making those numbers up. Somebody will correct me. Whereas compared to Facebook, we're talking, you know, 600 million people who logged in within the last 30 days. So you know they're active, you know they're not joke accounts or whatever. So I'd be really interested to hear how much of this is skewed towards Twitter, in which case you could have a smaller sampling size that could skew this perceived popularity of the different shows.
All right. Before we move on, I want to thank one of our sponsors, Netflix, netflix.com/twit. You can watch streaming movies straight to your television over your PS3, over your Xbox 360, over your Nintendo Wii. You can watch them on your laptop, on your desktop as well. Get DVDs by mail in about a business day. Watch as many movies as you want, any time you want. You watched anything on Netflix recently, Brian?
You know what? I continue my practice of playing Netflix roulette, where I'll just run around totally randomly. I talked up last time about how we discovered a town called Panic. It is so great to have the in-your-face thing. It's one thing. It's sort of like when Apu lived with the Simpsons. And he finds all the corn in the back, and he's just like, oh, no, this corn will never move. And he sets it out in front, and then they're walking off to school. They're like, hey, corn, and they grab it and they go off, right? That's what Netflix is. Movies that I would never think to go dig into. It's like they have this awesome buffet of their instant streaming, and I'm walking along, and I'm like, oh, wow, Best Basketball Diaries, you know, or whatever. I mean, just a million different things I never think I would watch that I'll stop and check out. I recently rewatched the documentary Maxed Out about credit card debt. I am in love with all of the indie documentaries on Netflix. These are movies that have something to say, whether I agree with them or disagree with them. This is a platform for me to experience well-told stories. I just watched Who Killed the Electric Car on there. So much good stuff on it. You don't want to get me talking about Netflix, Tom. You better stop.
We could go all show talking about Netflix, but instead we're just going to tell you, sign up for your free trial. It's 30 days free. It's easy. You type in netflix.com/twit. We get credit for you being an awesome listener. You get an awesome service. Or if you've already got it, hand that out to your friends. Say, hey, let me hook you up with a free month of Netflix. You're going to love it. Netflix.com/twit. And we thank them for their support of This Week in Tech Network, as well as Frame Rate. Now it's time for yet another big story. You thought we were done. We're not. Not at all.
Tuck in your bootstraps. It's yet another big story.
Harry McCracken of the Technologizer blog has a post up this week at PC World about Blu-ray, and one little tidbit that I, as Akhtar of TNT, pulled out of here. They surveyed, the NPD surveyed people who used Blu-ray players in the past 6 months. They went around to customers and they said, have you used a Blu-ray player in the past 6 months? Now, Blu-ray at this point is successful. It is the dominant format. When you put out a new movie on disc, you tout the Blu-ray version of the movie, and slowly back catalog is being expanded and all of that stuff. Let's first do a little internal survey, and then I'll tell you the results of the MPD report if you don't already know them. Brian, have you watched a Blu-ray movie within the past 6 months?
No.
All right. Tom, have you watched a Blu-ray movie in the past 6 months? Yes. Actually, I watched Star Trek. Ken, have you watched a Blu-ray movie in the past 6 months?
Yes, I watched. Actually, it was a concert, the police concert that they shot down in Buenos Aires last year.
Then did you watch it because you shot it?
No. I wasn't on the show, but I wanted to see how it looked.
Okay.
So I got the Blu-ray of it and watched it and loved it.
Did you watch any Blu-rays just for fun? This isn't part of the survey. I'm just curious.
I don't know if I do anything for fun.
Ken doesn't do fun.
No, I definitely have. Definitely have.
All right. Jason?
Nope.
Do you even have a Blu-ray?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
No. I haven't.
Have you watched any Blu-ray movies in the past 6 months? We have a guest off camera.
That's my cousin Michael.
Michael says no. He hasn't. All right.
Now, again, this is something that's so great and also terrifying about the new world where everybody's cutting the cord and all the rules of media have changed. What we want in Blu-ray discs is not the media. We don't want the so many of the enhancements that they're touting. What we want is higher definition presentation. We want the movie in as clear and crisp a way as possible. The media is just the thing that it's stuck into, and this surprises me in no way. Do you remember when
what we have buried the lead as far down into its grave as we can on this story,
Go for it.
Which is 15% of consumers surveyed by MPD have used a Blu-ray player in the past 6 months. So that's 3 people out of every 20.
That's about accurate, I would say, because in many ways, I think this is ultimately Microsoft's revenge. People don't remember back when HD DVD was fighting Blu-ray and they were back and forth on formats. There were people saying that Microsoft's position, you remember they were intentionally mum on all that stuff, was because they wanted them to hash it out as long as possible so that they could use their Xbox as the streaming alternative. And I would say Xbox has now had its revenge because more people experience high def by streaming or over-the-air on-demand content than do Blu-ray.
You know what's interesting about this to me? In VHS's same life point, I don't know the numbers. I can guarantee it was above 15%. DVD's same point in life as Blu-ray, guarantee it was above 15%. So I think Blu-ray has succeeded more than I expected it to as far as becoming a dominant format, but it is showing with this survey that it is the last optical format of any consequence. Not the last optical format that will ever be made. They'll make higher capacity formats and they'll be used for all kinds of things. But we will, from now on, we will be buying things digitally. We'll be buying things over the internet. That will be our main way of consuming things, possibly streaming more often than not.
And thank goodness, too. As someone who just emptied out the basement of cassette tapes and books and stuff I've been storing forever, I now have it all digitally. I don't need the media anymore, and I don't want the media necessarily cluttering up my life.
I want a few things. There are a few things I like to have just to have.
Box sets?
Yeah.
There's certain box sets when they just do it perfectly.
Yeah.
They give you all the material you want.
They
on
give
the
you
discs,
a little booklet, maybe a few extras.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll buy those all day long.
But that's it. I mean, those are few and far between. Those aren't the regular thing.
You briefly touched on something that I do think is important because Blu-ray will continue to live on as a very important high storage capacity media for stuff besides. I'm excited for people who have a PS3 because they're going to get more rich, detailed games because you're able to put more assets on
Although
the
I
disc.
think gaming will eventually transition to digital downloads as well. I think we'll see gaming media go away.
And as the bandwidth rolls out, I can't wait for that to happen. That'll be amazing. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, probably not such a big story since it's our 4th big story. But we had to at least play the...
Is this new?
Yeah.
That's hot.
It's our new 4th big story. We actually don't have
I'm not gonna lie.
Did you guys like comp that? Like, did you just comp that in the break? Like, you just did that.
Lonely.geek did that. Thank you, Lonely.geek.
That's awesome.
Zach Holder, a.k.a. DJ Z, one of the most brilliant minds I've run into, who is, he has an announcement. I don't know if it's public yet or whatever, but he recently auditioned for a job that I'm really excited for him. He's going to be coming out to visit California, and hopefully you'll get to meet him in person at the Twit Cottage. We'll try to set that up.
So, audio users, I hope you enjoyed the funky music. On now to Film Thalm. That's the audio users. You get the better version.
They
on
ducked.
That one.
They just ducked.
You know what? I'm now in defense of that font. I'm okay with that font. I'm okay with the whole intro now.
You guys are still going around about the font? How many weeks has this been? Come on now.
I believe we're actually going around about the typeface.
Oh, okay, sorry. And the kerning.
The size is and the kerning are
correct?
fine.
Did you just bust out the font versus typeface? I mean, is that about the geekiest gauntlet? You slap a glove across his face like I said,
Limply slapping.
That was awesome. What power you could have.
All right. First up in Film Thalm, Miramax bringing ad-free films to Hulu Plus. So actually, there's a small reason to subscribe to Hulu Plus.
No way. I'll never go back.
At least you're getting something on Hulu Plus where it's like, oh, okay, I don't get ads on Miramax films.
Can I rant about Hulu Plus for a second?
Please do.
Being an Xbox Live guy, okay? Hulu Plus comes to Xbox. Brian, you can share in this, I'm sure. I'm thinking, okay, Hulu Plus, I'll check it out. I'd love to see it. Speed Racer is on Hulu Plus. The classic Speed Racer, not the reboot we've had. Love it. My daughters want to watch it, okay? We're having that bonding moment. Get a commercial at the top, silly Sasquatch commercial. Get a commercial 10 minutes in. Get another commercial, another 3 minutes after that. Hello, what? Right in the middle of like the mammoth car getting, battling out with Speed on Kasserine Pass or wherever they are in Morocco at the time. And I'm just sitting there going, man, really? I'm going to pay to watch all these commercials?
That's the thing.
And it drives me crazy. I can't stand it. I mean, I'm thinking, wait, on Netflix I don't get any commercials, even though there are commercial breaks, in those shows. And yet, why am I paying to watch commercials on Hulu Plus? I have
no problem paying for Hulu Plus. I don't have no problem for them putting commercials into Hulu. And I even don't have a problem in certain situations having commercials on Hulu Plus content for some reason or another, sort of a brought-to-you-by situation. But having exactly the same number of commercials in a Hulu Plus video versus regular Hulu, I don't understand what I'm paying.
You guys every week evangelize about how it's so important that the digital revolution is upon us. We're going to be consuming these things over the internet. And here we have them essentially taking the broadcast model of a certain number of commercials per half hour and doing it to us on the internet and charging us for the privilege of watching it. And I'm like, wait a second, what's revolutionary about this? What's interesting about this? What's compelling about this? I said to the girls, I said, I'll just go out and I'll go down to the local used DVD store and I'll pick up the DVD box set for $20. We'll watch it. I'll take it back, sell it back, or whatever. I'm not going to sit there and pay, them to show me commercials, especially not during Speed Racer.
As time goes on, I just feel worse and worse for Hulu's position. I feel like, first of all, this is a race. This is a land grab. It's the Oklahoma land rush. They just fired the gun. Everybody's trying to jockey for position. And the way you jockey for position is by owning different spaces in people's minds. And the way you do that is you be first, and you also have to be clear about what you are. Netflix is doing that very, very well. It's the place where you pay a fee and you get everything that's there, and it's no commercials, and and they know they don't have everything, but certainly if they have they have everything a season at a time when it comes to television, and they have the entire movie without commercial breaks. Hulu is so over the map, all over the map. First of all, they have Hulu and Hulu Plus, which is already a bad idea. It should just be Hulu doing one thing. But if you are going to do Hulu Plus, what you should do is you should give it a different name, make it a separate product. But if you're not going to do that, if you're going to call it Hulu Plus, then we need to know what that plus stands for. And I defy you to find one person in 100 that can clearly, in one sentence, state what the difference between Hulu and Hulu Plus is.
I can do it. Can I do it? Can I take a stab at it?
Sure, yeah.
All right, go for it.
We charge to let you watch commercials.
Hulu Plus, you paying us.
To watch commercials.
Yeah.
Go Hulu Plus.
The longer they dawdle, the longer they're going to lose their market share, and eventually it's going to be over. I mean,
let's bring this back to the story, which is Hulu actually providing commercial-free movies for once.
You just wrecked my whole
Miramax movies, Pulp Fiction, Good Will Hunting, English Patient, stuff like that. So, it's not fixing all the problems, but at least now there is some advantage to having.
Funny that a couple of those that you just mentioned are on Netflix, commercial free.
Yes, and part of the way that Netflix gets their movies is by paying licensing fees to different suppliers.
Yep.
Netflix CEO Reed Hastings won't say exactly how much he's negotiating with Starz to renew, but he says $200 million would not be shocking.
That's
dude.
Oh, go ahead,
Oh, go
Brian.
ahead.
No, hit it.
Go.
The original deal cost about $30 million.
Wow.
So $200 million versus $30 million.
I'm going to say every dime they spend is worth it because Netflix's current success with the on-demand model, with the instant streaming, is based almost entirely, as far as I could tell, on the success of the Starz content. All of the best movies that I get most excited about on instant streaming are all Starz properties. And in fact, you were there at, was it CES where we ran into the Starz guys? Starz had its own booth.
Yeah.
And so I kept referring to the Starz content I'd use the terms instant streaming and Starz interchangeably, and it would really annoy them. They're like, no, that's Netflix. We're not Netflix. We're Starz. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys are doing this. They're like, no, pretty much they're deriving all the benefit, and it's our content, and it's our deal, and we're making pennies on the dollar. And I was like, well, that sucks. But
that won't be happening much longer.
Exactly. If Netflix is smart, and it sounds like Netflix is smart, and they are going to pay, they should be paying Starz because Starz was the only company willing to give the premium content for pennies on the dollar to make it available in the very forward-thinking methods that Netflix does.
$200 million is about 6% of Netflix's forecast 2011 revenue. Do you think that's too much for one source?
Not even wait, 6%?
Yeah.
Are you crazy? I mean that's I don't want to get no, it's totally in line. I've said I want to say things that I'm going to regret later. No, 6% is very prudent. They've derived a lot of benefit, and let's point out that's not even the total valuation of Netflix, which I think seriously owes a big debt to Starz. But we're just talking about next year's revenues only. But yes, please pay it. Pay them extra. Give it. You know what? Here's Brian's proposal. Give him a $20 million tip. Just be like, hey,
200, agree to $200 million, and then just send him a check for $220, and then call you up like, hey, you made the checkout wrong. It's too. No. I just, I'm just throwing in a little tip.
Go get the wife and kids something nice.
Yeah, you guys keep it.
Oh, did I? Yeah.
Spend it on something nice.
That's right.
Buy yourself a nice little. You know what? Why don't you restart Firefly? Everyone's talking about that.
Or
Just
throw in a new Spartacus once in a while. We're good. It's cool. No big deal.
Stop doing Camelot. That's what the $20 million's for.
Oh, are we going to talk about that today?
Do you like Camelot?
Well, let's talk about that when we get to Game of Thrones, because I know we're going to nerdgasm over Game of Thrones.
All right.
So
let's check in on the NSFW show Frame Rate Summer Movie Draft.
I am not involved with this. I completely missed this episode. So
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I should have got. I thought if I go back and get the podcast version, it's not going to be the same, and it's not going to work, and I'm not going to be a part of it. And I feel so left out.
Well, Gregor 1942 is leading the way so far in the chat realm standings. Sarah Lane still on top, but Justin Robert Young closing in. Sarah 371 million, Justin 353 million. And last week, Justin Robert Young started to catch Sarah with a very disappointing Super 8. Not disappointing as a movie, but we can talk about that separately. But disappointing at the box office, 40 million.
Let me tell you, this is where the April Fool gets his comeuppance. Obviously, Sarah passed me. Justin passed me next. Next is going to be Jason, Tom. And I want to point out, Cargill still has 0. And Cargill, weirdly, remains extremely confident in his picks. He is convinced that Transformers Dark of the Moon is going to completely explode the box office. And
Well, let me explain why I think he may be right and what he did that I didn't catch on to until too late. He figured in holidays. People go to see movies on holidays. Transformers Dark of the Moon, that is a huge blockbuster hit just because it's Transformers. Now put it on July 4th weekend. It's going to be monster.
Yes.
And then and Memorial Day, Hangover Part 2. I was like, how did Hangover Part 2 do so well? Memorial Day weekend. And we're actually going to be wrapping up the draft before Labor Day, so we won't see that Labor Day bump. So that July 4th, that Memorial Day thing, those are things to watch out for.
I don't know. He paid $30 for Green Lantern, and I just have a bad feeling about Green Lantern.
Just out of curiosity, what'd Sarah pay for Priest? She needs to get her money back on that
She
one.
paid.
I just saw
she
that.
only paid $10 for Priest.
Oh, my
so
God.
She actually
All right,
made $2 million per dollar spent.
Were you guys aware of the? I don't mean to totally derail this
Almost
segment, but
3
have you guys? Did you guys ever read the comic version of it?
No.
I was totally unaware of it. Watched the movie and went, "There is no way." Where did this come from? Like, what is? Because there were moments in it where, wow, this is very lucid, and then the rest of it was crap. And so you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, wow, what's the background on this? Look up the comic, and I'm thinking, oh, man, they should have just gone straight off the comic. It was so much better.
I think it's quite possible, Brian Brushwood, that Cargill leaps into first place this weekend.
I do believe that he may see a brief moment of enjoying first place. Wait, you're talking about the Green Lantern?
Green Lantern comes out this weekend.
No,
they have been advertising that long and hard for months.
Yep.
And so it's in everybody's mind.
Does that translate to people?
He
at the
won't make
box office?
371 million, but he will leap right into the middle of the fray with a 100 million plus weekend.
God, I just don't know.
No way. No, I'll bet you a 5 spot right now that he won't crack $100 million in that first weekend. No way.
Father's Day weekend.
Let me just say,
Take your dad to see Green Lantern.
Everybody's at Father's Day dinner. Well, what do we do? Let's go see a movie. What do you want to see? Well, Dad wants to see Green Lantern because he remembers watching the original Green Lantern on the radio. Okay, let's go. That's exactly what's going to be.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
Do you think they intentionally avoided putting Captain America on July 4th? Was that like too obvious that they thought would be like?
I'm talking about the movie industry. Are you kidding, Brian? They would have put it right on
I think
there.
they saw Transformers and said, Transformers
Yeah.
probably got there first.
Yeah.
And they're like, forget that. We're not going up against Transformers.
What a weird business that has to be, where it's like there's no governing body. Pretty much what you do is you just shout very loudly what you plan to do, and then you have these chicken fights, and you see who will scurry over to a spot where that's not so occupied.
Now, as far as what we've been watching, I did get to see Super 8. We had the Twit preview screening last weekend, and I thought it was a Spielberg movie with an Abrams sensibility. It's an Abrams monster. There's lots of Abrams lines, but it follows the outline of every feel-good Spielberg movie you'll ever see. And people who like that are going to love this movie, and people who are more Abrams fans are probably not going to like it as much. But it's basically Abrams riffing off the Spielberg genre.
I know that Justin went to go watch Super 8 with Andrew Main, and halfway through the movie, which they were both enjoying immensely for what it was, it just kind of hits you what level this is going to do at the box office. And Andrew Main turns, not realizing Justin owned it and that this was Justin's last great hope, says, "Wow, dude. I'm glad whoever bought that movie is screwed." Just like, he is so legitimately angry that he was the team that invented the game and can't seem to crack it. Although he is number 2 right now. He's ahead of everyone right now.
Yeah. And then I also watched Midnight in Paris, the Woody Allen movie with Owen Wilson, where he accidentally time travels every night at midnight in Paris and goes back to the 20s and gets to meet Hemingway and Scott Fitzgerald. And if you're into that at all, if you like that sensibility, and if you like Woody Allen movies, fantastic movie. You don't like that stuff, you're going to be bored to tears. It's all about whether you're into that stuff or not.
So I'm sort of diving into, I don't have HBO, or I didn't have HBO until I signed up just so I could watch Game of Thrones. And in fact, next week I got to actually make sure I looked at my wrist as if there's going to be anything there.
That's where your calendar is?
Yeah.
We're in between the days of the wristwatch and before there's a computer grafted onto my skin here. But so for now, I'm discovering the joys of the on-demand content, and I ended up watching The Book of Eli, mainly because I've been a huge fan of PC Gamer, and in fact, I've been lucky enough to join them on the PC Gamer podcast. Former editor-in-chief at PC Gamer magazine, Gary Whitta, is the writer of Book of Eli. So I'd heard about it, but I hadn't seen it. It's a very familiar world. If you're familiar with the Fallout universe or any of that stuff, you will recognize it as kind of a post-nuclear wasteland. I was really, really shocked at how much I liked this movie. It was beautiful. It was immersive. There was no cheese, and it's so easy in a movie like this to put.
It's Denzel Washington, right, Brian? Is he the lead in this? Yeah, there he is on the screen. Okay. No cheese? Yeah. Denzel Washington, no cheese? You're kidding me.
I'm serious. There's no cheesiness, and it's like I believe the world and I believe the characters, and I believed there was actually a lot of heart in the movie as well, along with all the ugly grit. I really enjoyed it as well.
All right, let's take a quick break. Thank our sponsor, Hover.com, all about making domain registration and service simple. They don't sell you a ton of services. They ask you, do you want a domain name? Do you want email to go with it? That's it. You don't have to wade through a bunch of stuff. And if you want to transfer your domain names, you're like, I've already got them in another registrar. How do I get them over to Hover? Because I want to have that kind of customer service, like the no-hold policy, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. You call, they pick up. Nobody gets put on hold. You get a person answering the phone as soon as it stops ringing. And an exclusive for the Twit audience, free transfer concierge service. Hover offers you what would normally be $25 service on the site. You just call Hover, give them your username and password, and they will transfer your domain names for you. So if you've got domain names at another registrar, you have no excuse not to move them to Hover. Check it out at hover.com/frame to get that free concierge service. Sign up there, and we thank Hover for all of their support. Hover can make it hassle-free to get a new domain name. Go register one right now. Maybe I believe in DenzelWashington.com.
You know what?
Going to be your name.
I'm a Hover customer, by the way, all because of the Twit network.
Oh, cool.
I moved 10 domains over there, called up, got a real-life person, shocking, not on a Friday necessarily, but took care of everything for me. They're the best. They're fantastic.
Love it. Check them out at hover.com/frame. Thank them for their support of Frame Rate. Time for Tube Tops. Comcast is tapping Facebook for an enhanced television experience. The new experience transforms the way customers watch television with a new guide and user interface that makes the TV screen more interactive. How many people have tried this over how many years, from web TV, from Microsoft, MSN TV, and before? Do we want this? Do we want to have interactivity on our television screen while we are watching television shows?
I do not understand this bizarre compulsion that TV has to try to become something that's not TV. Anytime that you see an industry statement that begins with, we plan to transform TV into, just stop paying attention, because TV will be one thing. It'll be TV. And if there's something that's not TV, it's going to be a separate thing that we do in parallel with television. And especially, in fact, if you look at the bottom of this article, this is in the HollywoodReporter.com, the last statement here says, the Comcast announcement comes a day after the company unveiled a strategic partnership with Skype that will enable Comcast customers to communicate with family and friends through HD video calling on their TV set, which I heard you guys talking about on TNT, which is just, even reading the description of it was idiotic, because they're like, go out and buy yourself a camera and this little gizmo box, and you can do Skype. It's as though what these companies, I don't understand it, and it's not going to be anything. I'm going to cut myself off. That's it.
You're cut off.
That's right.
Yeah, you know what? I can't add anything to that. It's like, you know what? Everybody just keeps trying to do this because, right, Facebook is the latest thing that provides the afterglow. Like, ooh, we want to be with them, so we're going to just shove them into our product. And it doesn't make any sense to me either. Premiering this week on television, a bunch of new midsummer replacement shows. The 9 Lives of Chloe King on ABC Family, which is actually about a girl who communes with, beyond the supernatural sort of stuff. A 90-minute premiere of Voltron Force on Nicktoons, the reboot of Voltron. Saturday at 9 p.m., BBC America has the first episode of Outcast, in which the survivors of a post-apocalyptic Earth journey to a new homeworld called Carpathia.
Seen it, love it.
Sunday at 9 p.m., the 2-hour premiere of Falling Skies on TNT. You like that Spielberg and Super 8? This is Steven Spielberg's television show, taking place 6 months after a successful alien invasion of Earth. We'll see if that holds up. It's
you missed Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, Tom.
Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated.
I love that.
Also,
it's good. I watch it. It is
really good.
It is great. It is so good.
It's not a new show, though. It's just
It's
returning.
been, what, a year? They rebooted a year ago?
All of these are brand new. They've never aired before. But you're right.
It's so
Scooby-Doo
good.
is returning.
My girls every week. Is there a new Scooby-Doo on? No, dear.
You know what's funny is my daughter likes the old school Scooby-Doo.
Yep.
And I started up the Mystery Incorporated. She's like, no, I don't like this one because the monsters scare me. But we end up watching it. I'm like, no, Penny, this is freaking awesome.
Oh, the humor is very adult in some ways. I mean, they make a lot of jokes about, the school teacher who has to go out and be a ghoul and haunt to make up the difference in her pay because they're, cutting funding for the school district. And you're going, wait, this isn't a Scooby-Doo. Where's Meadowlark Lemon? Where's Curly Near? Where are the Globetrotters? Take me back to the 70s. I mean, it's just like, but it's brilliantly done. It's got a very wry sense of humor, but yet I think it also keeps that core Scooby-Doo-ness that we love. Lots of ruh-roh. You know,
Yeah.
Scooby snack.
Did you see the one with the video game developers who dress up as monsters on the weekend just to spice up things?
Yep, just to spice up things, right? And then the last one I saw was the one where they had the Vincent Price-esque character with the failing TV show who's trying to shoot a reality show in the mansion. And wait, do I get a spoiler alert for that? I don't know. It just gave away the whole thing. Like, I think I'm like,
We haven't had one.
exterminate.
Actually, let's keep that up because it applies to our next story too. We've got some information about The Walking Dead, which I would normally call spoiler alert yellow, but we're having some technical difficulties.
The yellow isn't working.
If you
Yellow's
show
not
our,
functioning.
show our spoiler alert yellow,
And we can't go
this
to
is what
green.
you see if we go to yellow. Nothing.
Black. Oh, it's not keying.
Yeah, you just.
Yeah, it's
you
not
just-
keying.
good.
Yeah, it's so. Anyway, this is sort of a yellow, red, blue, green spoiler
Mauve.
alert. But TV Line has some information on characters that will be seen in Walking Dead Season 2. Here's your chance to stop if you don't want to know. Herschel's Farm's going to be featured. We're going to hear about Herschel, his daughter Maggie, and Otis, all confirmed as characters in the upcoming season.
Okay, so here's the thing. Number one, it's kind of bizarre, and we already talked about this before. It's hard for me to get worried about spoilers when you've already read the comic book. And if you read the comic book, of course, you're in love with the movie, I assume.
I haven't read the comic book, Brian. Don't ruin this for me.
Okay. Well, for those of you who have read the comic book and for whom this will not be a spoiler, because you know Herschel's Farm is going to be there, and you know the characters at Herschel's Farm are going to be there, we can assume that this will be the arc of the season, which means I'm pretty sure we know what they'll be looking at the last episode in this season. That's all I'm going to say.
Nope. Absolutely.
They're not going to work on Herschel's Farm no more?
Right.
There you go.
Paul
Same.
McCartney will be doing the soundtrack.
Oh,
this year.
excellent. An oratorio. Everyone.
There's also been some talk from producer Frank Darabont that AMC may be cutting the budget for the second season. He says, creatively, I have no complaints thus far, but I believe if they do move ahead with what they're talking about, it will affect the show creatively in a negative way, which just strikes me as odd. If you have an asset, why would you punish it?
Do you think that's the kind of thing, like when somebody says something like that to a reporter, do you think he knows that he's really...
He's lost the argument behind closed doors, so now he's taking it to the streets.
Yes, and of course you say it offhandedly, like this thought just popped into your mind. When meanwhile you're just like, "Hey, man, I'm going to rile up the fans against you if you keep going this way."
Yeah.
Did Mad Men try this? They had to lose 6 people. You know,
Right.
kill off 6 characters.
And
With
the
The
guy-
Walking Dead, you can do that easily. You know, it's not as hard as Mad Men.
That would have been much easier. They should have merged the two shows.
That would be
Kill
awesome.
off 6 zombies. There you go.
That's right.
The Walking Mad Dead
Men.
Men. Walking Mad Dead Men. Exactly.
There you go. It's great. Write the script, Tom. We need to greenlight this right away.
Doing. Also, new season of Breaking Bad coming, and nymag.com has a plan for late adopters like me who have friends who are beating me up to get into the show like Brian.
Wait, you still haven't watched? I thought
I haven't watched it either. I haven't seen it. I've watched
You say
everything
that
else,
every
though.
time I tell you I haven't started watching it yet.
No.
A pox upon both of you.
So I'm already behind in the catch up here. It gives you episodes to watch each day from June 9. But do you think this is a good plan? Should I follow
Yes.
this plan to catch up?
I don't even care about the. Oh no, you should watch every single episode. You should get a hold of it. by
So
whatever
you don't think I should cheat? I should just start from the beginning and go.
No, it won't matter. Watch the first 2 episodes, and you won't want to cheat. You will just be sucked in. If you start today, you'll be done by the time the show launches again. What, mid-June or July, right? Mid-July.
Right. Hey, how's it coming with Fringe?
Okay. You know what?
Slam. Merritt off the top rope with the suplex.
Merritt, you listen to me. You listen. It's a big deal. It's a big deal what's about to happen right here.
Uh-oh.
All right?
Look at the eyes.
I will watch Fringe if you watch Breaking Bad this next month.
Oh, wait, I have to use
Are you guys pinky swearing in front of me?
We're pinky swearing,
Oh, my
dude.
God.
I take this very seriously. It's the only
I'm
time
getting
I
out of the
come
way for this.
got in trouble.
Document this with the lower third.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have a pinky swear lower third? You are good.
There we go.
Oh.
Wow. That's interesting.
All right.
Yeah, I feel like it's chat roulette. Like, well, it's the size. It was the size, guys.
It's a little weird.
Anyway.
Doesn't matter. Also, I had to throw this in. It's not really in our wheelhouse, but it was just too cool of an incident. Sean Bean played Boromir in Lord of the Rings, plays Eddard Stark in Game of Thrones. Apparently was at a pub in North London that he frequents regularly with a friend, April Summers. Passerby started making lewd comments about his companion, leading to a confrontation. The Daily Mail reports that the unnamed man is believed to have returned to the bar later, attacked Sean Bean, punched him in the face, and stabbed him with broken glass. Declining a trip to the hospital, Sean Bean went back into the pub, patched up the scratch on his arm and his face, and ordered another beer.
And gave him a proper hiding.
I loved the way twitchfilm.com broke it down. They said manly point number 1, 30 years younger than him is his girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Manly point 2, she's a Playboy model. Manly point 3, the guy makes lewd comments toward him. Manly point 4, gets a fight, gets punched. Manly point 5, orders another drink. Manliest man in the universe.
I'm fine.
That's right.
Just give me another pint. And then David Simon agrees to make 6th season of The Wire if the U.S. agrees to end the war on drugs.
Yeah, good luck with that.
So we will never see a 6th season of The Wire, is what this means.
Well, that's of course based on the very public comments that I forget who it was, the Attorney General or some
Eric Holder.
Attorney General Eric Holder, who said, "Hey, bring back The Wire. And I've got pull. I demand it." And what's great about this response is that it took this kind of jokey, "Hey, look at me, I'm a public official throwing your silly little show publicity," and it sort of plays as Ed Burns saying, "This is a serious issue. Will you please stop the war on drugs? And yes, I'll make you another stupid season of this show if you stop ruining lives." Like I was really well played, gentlemen. Well played.
All right, let's get to what we're watching really quick before we wrap up this show. And I know you want to talk about the new Mad Show on CN. I want to talk about Doctor Who and Sanctuary, but really, we got to talk about Game of Thrones.
What?
Game of Thrones. Did you watch it this weekend?
Was this a substantive episode? Did something shocking or interesting happen this episode?
We got to go to spoiler alert magenta.
Oh,
If we got to go to ultraviolet.
we gotta say,
All I got is red.
make it work.
All right, here's the thing.
Spoiler
We are
alert,
still-
infrared.
It's so red. My background turned red with it.
It matches. It's very nice.
We're still not going to give away anything, but we are going to say that you probably don't even want to listen to this if you haven't read the books. It's time for you to grow up, and you need to watch all this stuff. You got to read the books. You got to watch the show. I will talk about how they handled it. Dude, they are knocking it out. I cannot think of one major disagreement I have with the entire series to date, and I thought the way they handled the major plot twist that happened this episode with so much class, and it was
brilliant. It was brilliantly done, brilliantly played. It was note perfect all the way up to the end when my wife turns to me and says, "What kind of a show is this?" It's not, and that is the appropriate and proper response that you want to elicit if you're HBO.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
I've got a quick question related to this. I'm not a big fantasy reader, but I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks lately, and I'm tempted to actually start listening to book 1 of Game of Thrones.
It's great. That's what I've been doing since you got. Yeah, I had not read the series, and I got into the book, the Audible book, and reading the books because of you guys, and also watching it. Obviously, yeah.
Okay. So I mean, not having a big like fantasy kind of fiction background, is the book itself, because it's a pretty long audiobook, is it the type of fantasy book that you have to be kind of invested in fantasy to really enjoy?
No.
And if so, should I read that before watching this?
Yes, I would read it before watching.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you have to. I think you can still enjoy it the other way, but I think it is best experienced knowing the story.
Okay.
And Roy Dotrice reads it. If you get the Audible version, so come on now.
No, I've heard that the reading on the audiobook is
It's
great.
fantastic. It's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sold.
You should do it. I'm not a big fan, or not a big science fiction fantasy guy anymore.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's thank God you guys got into it, because you got me into it.
Right.
So
Now, I don't want Game of Thrones to be a total love fest, so I will pick on one thing, and it's a very minor thing. But I kind of
Is
wish
this a spoiler alert?
I kind of wish
Oh, boy.
that they had held over the part of Daenerys' story they told in this episode till the final episode. I know they wanted to check in with her, and I think that's actually probably the right thing to do, because you don't want to go a whole episode without her. But I wanted to see all of that stuff happen at once instead of pausing in the tent.
Do you think they're going to actually do all that stuff in the next episode, though?
Yep.
You're sure of this?
Well,
Oh, yes.
How are they going to do
They
that?
say they are, yeah.
Like with a
have no idea.
3-hour episode? I mean, come on now.
I know. That's why I'm like, really? You spent... Okay. I mean, I don't know.
No. I'll say this about Daenerys. I think it's important because that's two major events. You've got the one event and then the second event.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
that's two.
Right.
And so you wouldn't want to cram both of those in one episode. I don't mind them being there. But correct me if I'm wrong here. The whole maybe we should raise to red here.
Lightly.
Yeah,
The
I'll
whole
do it quietly.
scene with Tyrion and his lady friend.
Shay.
Oh, yeah.
We'll say the honest lady friend.
Yes.
That whole story about his past, that was in the next book, wasn't it? Was that in
Oh, that's a
Game
good
of Thrones?
question. They all run together for me now. So I've been sitting here watching this entire series going, oh, was that in the first book? I thought that was later. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't think, I thought we were going to have this now, but I guess that isn't until the second book. So I'm all out of whack. I can't tell.
Yeah, so well, maybe this is my moment to have that happen, but I could have sworn that the tale that he tells Shay occurred in a later book,
It may
and
be.
more importantly, that I'm glad that they set that up now because there's an even bigger spoiler down the road dealing with that.
Yes, for sure. And that one definitely comes in a later book. So and season 2 is supposed to be book 2.
Okay.
So good. Congratulations, gentlemen. You
Also,
have-
I'm glad that they resisted the temptation to end the season on what ended this last episode, which
Yes.
would have been a really, a very tempting as a television producer way to go. Let's cliffhang the season with that. And they could have tried to rejigger things around to do that, but thankfully they have been sticking very honestly to the story.
And if I could chime in one more thing for Jason, as far as if you're into fantasy or not into fantasy, I am not somebody who reads a lot of fantasy books. I couldn't even get through The Lord of the Rings. I enjoyed The Hobbit, but not Lord of the Rings. This is fantasy in a world that used to be a fantastic world. And now it's a very practical, dirty, dark world. But it's also a world where the light of magic is rekindling again. And so the magic is very, very small, very, very slight. Almost, you could almost think that it's imagined in the background. It's mainly about politics and is beautifully, beautifully written.
It's not at all that I hate fantasy or science fiction.
No, you
at
hate
all,
fantasy.
But I do know that there are certain levels.
He does, but that's not why.
His eyes are saying hate fantasy, while his mouth says
lasers.
It's not just because you hate fantasy, but
But I do know that there are certain levels when it comes to like this style of fiction. That if you're really gung ho into fantasy, science fiction, it might be a little bit above.
No, this is the opposite
somebody
of
who's
that.
this
just
is like
kind of
this
coming
is,
into.
this is like reading
basic-
history.
Yeah, this
history.
This is a fake history of something, and
Okay.
I believe there's some allusions to other fantasy that enhance your appreciation for the contrast. But if you've seen Lord of the Rings,
Right, yeah,
you're
okay.
probably golden.
And you survived.
even on that stuff.
I survived.
There you go. You're good then.
Radical.
Did you guys all notice, like, am I the only one who's in love even with the title sequence for Game of Thrones? Like, I will watch
No,
it
I
every
love
time.
that.
I'll
Yep,
never fast
yeah.
forward through it.
Yep.
And I love the fact that it's like this backwards, inside-out, hollow Earth thing. Did you notice that? That
Well,
it's
yeah,
all
it's supposed to be a mechanical map that
Yes.
would exist in one of the palaces at this time. In the time period that this is taking place, so it's supposed to be fitting into the technology where you'd be cranking this thing, and the golden things that are in front of you, those are sort of exterior circles that are rotatable around this globe.
It's a fantastic
Well,
piece of animation.
Yeah, it's great.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
Well, and what I look forward to is in future episodes, and obviously here you see all the main locations. You see the Wall, you see Winterfell, you see Vase Dothrak, you see King's Landing. What I look forward to is in future ones. I can't wait to now you're seeing spoiler alert, Blue or whatever. The Iron.
Some other place.
Yeah, we've started to see the Eyrie. We want to see more of Bravos and places across the sea for sure.
Yeah.
And south from King's Landing, we haven't seen yet either.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else that you need to talk about before we move on to Interferon?
No, I'm good.
Then let's
Wait,
move on.
yes. Camelot, not as good as Game of Thrones. Let me just say that. I have watched Camelot from the start because
you
my
like it?
wife loves it. No.
Yeah.
There are some very nice actresses, very nice actors in there, but the production values aren't the same. The story doesn't have it just doesn't draw you in the same way.
I'm
and
a
this
big
is such
fan
a
of King Arthur,
Me too.
and this just seems to leave me flat.
Yeah, it's just the way it's played. It's the way it's shot. I think everything about it is so uncompelling. And they've got some excellent, like I said, excellent actors and actresses in there. But it's just not. There's something not happening with the director and the actors or whatever. Just the way it's cutting together. I can't. It drives me crazy. And yet I sit there and watch it because I love my wife very much. And I love the story, and I keep thinking, they're going to get there. Something's going to happen. It's going to be great. They're going to redeem it, and it's another week.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm glad you brought that up. We also have, in related news, I've just been handed this. This just in. Also, McDonald's, not as good as prime rib.
Yes.
Just in. Newsflash.
Yeah.
Who you got?
Yeah. That's the one I didn't see coming. Literally. Time for Interferon, which I did see coming. Literally. Jeff Goldblum.
Rumblefly.
Only one thing in Interferon before we wrap up. Fanhattan launches on iPad at D9 last week. This is another attempt to allow you to find television shows and movies on the internet in a simple and easy-to-use way. They've got a great interface for it. It's very, very picturesque. And what you do is you type in whatever the show or movie that you're looking for is, and it will tell you all of the places you can find it, looking through Amazon, iTunes, Netflix, all of those places, and allow you not only to actually see where it is, but to, in some cases, buy it or rent it right then.
So what I like about this is our big complaint is we want one place to get everything that we want legally, right? Of course, in this fractious world of agreements and alliances, it's sort of like Game of Thrones in and of itself. The distribution of copyright holdings, that makes it really difficult, and people don't like digging into all this stuff. But I can see this kind of service as being a way to bring everything together, to give you that experience. It's sort of like a concierge. You know, you're like, bring me the head of Fletch, and he goes out and he goes there, like, here's Fletch, use 20 cents.
Now, Comcast had something called Fancast that was supposed to do this, and it didn't end up doing that. Clicker does this, and you can get to it on the web. Fanhattan does it better, but it's only on the iPad. I'm like, why can't somebody just do a really good version of this that's available on the web? Why did Fanhattan go with the iPad? I don't know.
Yeah, well, you know, I think it's you go where the eyeballs are, and I think there's a certain structure to the iOS thing, and also a lot of people use it to watch their media, so I could see all that working.
Yeah, but this means I'm only going to be able to find it for the iPad, and they did say they will move out beyond the iPad, so I guess it is just to sort of get some splash, like you say, get some eyeballs that are influencers.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I mean, look, it's a very attractive platform to dive into, and I think that's the right place for people to start, because the people who need this service the most are the looky-loos who aren't accustomed to knowing what site to go to for all their different favorite types of media. So this is an all-in-one device, and so, of course, you'd want an all-in-one service to go with it. I think it's a smart place for them to start, but I agree. Ultimately, I'd love to see a service where it's, you know, a Steam-like interface for all of media.
Let's finish up with some feedback.
Now it's time for feedback with Brian and Tom on Frame Rate. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It works.
Oh, my God.
And there was much rejoicing.
All right. I'll start. Should I start with line 53 or line 51, Brian?
You know what? If we can get the video up for line 53, we want the censored version, because I do think we should play the entire thing. But while you guys are queuing that up, why don't I go ahead and read from Michael? And by the way, these are all sent in to framerateshow@gmail.com. We do read all of those. I actually get the chance to respond to most of them. We fell a little bit off the wagon this week, but we'll be back reading every single one of them from now on.
Totally drunk.
This one is from Michael. Says, hey, Tom and Brian, on last week's show you guys talked about The Hobbit, and I thought I'd let you know that the reason there are two movies is that the second one will show Bilbo's journey back to the Shire in an event that in the book is about a paragraph long. However, they are expanding it into another movie. That strikes me as terribly unlikely, and I don't know.
That doesn't sound like what I have read.
And it doesn't sound like the way they roll over there. I mean, it's like Peter Jackson shown very true to the original books. That sounds like a campfire rumor on the internet. So
they may be expanding his journey back to the Shire a little bit because they have the flexibility to do it, but that's not why they're splitting him up into two movies.
Here's what I could see. I could see the first movie is the journey up there. Everything builds up to the final battle, and then they cut off, or maybe, you know, shortly before, and now we must prepare ourselves for the battle, and it ends. Second movie begins. You know, you got a montage, you got a big battle, and then a nice third act of coming on home. I could see that.
Yep, something like that. Okay, but thanks, Michael. Appreciate the email. Hey, Brian and Tom. Anonymous, I guess, says, when I hear the stories of when both of you have gone to the Alamo Draft House, I get jealous. In Portland, We do have movie theaters that offer beer and pizza during a movie, but we don't have anything like what I think a true theater experience should be. The curated films, the strict rules on cell phones and texting. I have left a link to an article below which exemplifies my jealousy, how the Alamo Drafthouse turned one woman's lengthy and possibly intoxicated rant into a PSA for people who text during movies at the Alamo Drafthouse. Hope you both will enjoy the read. I absolutely did. This if you haven't figured out the magic of the Alamo Drafthouse yet, from what Brian and I have said about it, this video will do it for you. You will get their sensibility from watching this. This is an actual voicemail. A customer left Alamo after being kicked out.
I was wondering if you guys actually enjoy treating your customers like a piece of because that's how I felt when I went to the Alamo Drafthouse. Okay? You know what? I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to text in your little crappy theater. It was too dark in that place for me to find my seat, all right? I was using my phone as a flashlight to get to my fucking seat. So excuse me for using my phone in USA, the United States of America, where you are free to text in a theater.
Actually, you're not.
I was not aware that I couldn't text in your theater,
Now
all
you
right? I've texted in all the other theaters in Austin, and no one ever gave a about what I was doing on my phone, all right? And it was on silent. It wasn't on loud. It wasn't bothering anybody. You guys obviously were being assholes to me, and I'm sure that's what you do, you know, to rip people off. You take my money, and then you throw me out. You know, I will never be coming back to your Alamo Drafthouse or whatever. I'd rather go to a regular theater where people are actually polite. And, you know, I'm going to tell everyone about how you are. And I'm pretty sure you guys are being assholes on purpose. So thanks for making me feel like a customer. Thanks for taking my money, asshole.
That's awesome.
We should point out, like, you could tell that she's really keyed up in that, and you might want to be
keyed up.
I should.
That's being nice.
Well, keyed up meaning she's done like 3 keys of cocaine. The problem is she was warmed twice before they ejected her from the theater, is what they say. And in fact, they've got a lot of the folks at Drafthouse. It's like the easiest way to pitch you on it is to say pizzas and beer, but that doesn't even get close to doing it justice. It's really so much more. It's about their awesome promotions and the fact that they take the presentation very, very seriously. And that's this thing's brilliant, man. It's blown up. What, 10 million views in the last week and a half, maybe?
Yeah, it's become an internet meme all on its own. And they show this before the films now. Is that right?
Yeah, all of the rated R movies, all the adult movies, they play that as their opening. And I kid you not, like they're regular. Even before How to Train Your Dragon or some kid show, they will have a full-on 60 seconds of time explaining nothing but please be quiet. And they even, like 30 seconds into it, they say, we're sorry. We understand we're hammering you with this a lot. But if you're rude enough to disrupt the movie, we will be rude enough to kick you out of the theater. Like, they make it abundantly clear.
And then post your message online.
If you're dumb enough to call in, obviously.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks to Chris in Portland, Oregon. He's the one who sent us that email. And you can send us emails, too, framerateshow@gmail.com. Ken LaBar, thanks for sitting in with us. It was
Dude,
great
is
to
that
have you
it?
along.
Is
Yeah.
that it?
We are done.
Oh, my God. All right. I got to go down to the airport, catch my flight back. Or actually, somebody's driving me, I think, back to Wisconsin. So
Drive all the way?
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. I hope so.
Yeah. Do you need to hitch? Do you need...
I don't know, man.
Do you need us to ask the chat room if anyone can drive
anybody
you to
Carbondale I can, like crash with if I don't
Possibly,
if I make that far?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, let me know.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Brian, thank you.
And let folks know where they can find you on the
Twitterverse and the thing.
web.
I have my little website with samples of my work, rollittakeit.com, rollittakeit.com, because as directors we say roll it, take it a lot. And also you can follow me on Twitter if you want to. I'm not sure I'm that interesting, but go ahead, give it a shot. Jammy Bastard. Twitter/Jammy Bastard, which means lucky guy if someone from Scotland gives you that.
You are one jammy bastard.
I am. I'm totally a jammy bastard. I know it, and I love it, and it's great. And you know why? Because I'm here with you guys. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ken.
Appreciate it.
Brian, any last thoughts before we head out of here?
Yeah, you know what? I'm like a stone's throw away from hitting my next milestone on the tweets. So if you want to follow me at Schwood, SHWOOD, there is no C in Schwood.
I'm at 9,901 tweets. Where are you at?
Oh, dude, I'm coming up on 10,000. Do we agree that we're going to try to drive off the cliff together?
Yeah, we talked about it last time.
Let's see, I'm at 9,865, so I got to get caught up. I got to tweet.
Yeah, I'm about 35 in front of you, so we're pretty close. That's good.
Done and done. And how about this? Maybe I should hit up Tim League, creator of the Alamo Draft House, to come.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How amazing would that be?
Love it. Let's do it. Yeah, see if he can come on. Love to talk to him, even if it's just for a brief interview. He doesn't have to sit for the whole thing. That's it for this episode of Frame Rate. You can find us on the web, twit.tv/FR. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time on Frame Rate.